All right, welcome to the fourth hole at Glenwild Golf Club and Spa. We have a par 3 playing to the east, and it's kind of a challenging par 3. It's longer par 3 for most people. We have a wetlands area that runs down the left-hand side and a ridge over here down the cart path. The cart path is a little higher than the green complex, so a good strategy typically is to hit your ball into the right-hand side and bounce it onto the green. We're going to take a look at our Strackline green reading book and help us figure out what a good strategy would be for scoring on the fourth hole here at Glenwild. Obviously, hitting your ball down in the front left in any of these bunkers looks like a pretty bad choice to me. I know we don't always have complete control over our golf ball, but we can always have complete control over our intentions. So let's take a look at that and come up with some good intentions for playing this hole. So as you can see, I've got holes located in the green and blue sections. Okay, so I've got, these are our traditional hole locations, and as we can see, based on the coloration, it's really just not possible to have holes located in any of these pink sections. Okay, so if you're in this position where you're looking on the tee box wondering, where do I hit the ball? It's pretty important to figure out where to not hit it first. So I'm using our 20 by 20 yard margin for error, and I'm going to say back here in this left hand corner, long left, to include the bunkering. This is just disastrous. You don't want to be back here. And I'm also going to say front left of this green is also not a good option. So we just want to make sure that we are definitely not left of the middle of the green. Okay, so as I bring our margin for error over here to the back right section of the green, you'll remember from the aerial picture in Google Earth that there was some ridges and hills that I talked about here. And for the most part, the ball will kick down onto the green. You can see the arrows. Well, these arrows off the green are also going to follow a pretty consistent shape in this direction. However, once you get to about this point, 30 yards onto the green, it doesn't always kick left. Sometimes it ends up kicking long and going over the green. So we're going to talk a little bit about strategy here. Obviously then that leaves us with the front right section of the green, and I'm going to say this is for sure the location that you want to try to hit every shot. Now let's talk about your strategy. Let's say, for example, this whole location back here measures on your laser rangefinder 200 yards. Well, you might be thinking, okay, good, I know how to hit my 200-yard club. I'm going to shoot the pin, I'm going to go for it. Well, if you land at 200 yards and you miss it in the safer zone over here, there's actually a really good chance your ball's going to hit the back edge of this green, and then it's going to kick further down this hill that goes behind, and that's going to be a very challenging chip shot coming back. Okay, so what you want to do is if you shoot your yardage here and then we look at the green map, we can see that this is 35. If we come backwards 5, 10, 15, even 20 yards, so a 180-yard shot instead of a 200-yard shot, the ball's going to be landing down here in this zone. Now, if the ball lands here, there's a really good chance it's going to kick forward and then break a little bit over here to the left, right? So if your ball were to land in this area, even just off the side of the green, there's a good chance it's going to kick, it's going to follow that curve, and it will end up rolling down here into this area in the just below this pink ridge. If that's the case, well, now to a back hole location, you have a relatively straight uphill putt, right? So you're putting uphill to this back hole location, and it's pretty straight. Now, if it goes a little bit past and you're into the middle of the green, well, yeah, you're going to have a downhill putt, and we know that those can sometimes be a little bit more challenging, but you're sitting here in the middle of a trough. So there's really not going to be much break. It's not going to be that challenging of a putt. So let's take a look at this front right section as our safe zone for where we want to hit the shot. Now, I do want to point out one thing that kind of goes back to my original video of busting myths. You'll remember that off to this side of the green over here on the left, I referenced that natural water area, right? So we got some wetlands, a little creek that kind of runs. And from one of my earlier videos, you'll remember that that creek actually kind of flows in this direction, right? So if the creek water is actually flowing in this direction, and the creek is in that location there from the green, if you were taking the logic that everything breaks toward natural, water, or if you know this Park City area well, you'll also know that basically straight in this direction, or all the ski resorts are over there, you would say, oh yeah, everything breaks right to left, breaks away from the mountains and to the creek. However, take a look at these pink arrows right here, and in particular, these arrows right here. These are not breaking toward the creek, right? They're actually breaking into the low spot where this green section of the putting green is, basically right into the middle. So this green right here in the center is like a trough. And what happens is, if this were to downpour with rain, and it rained in this, let's say it rained right here where I've got my yellow arrow pointed, the water droplets right there would then flow to the green section. They're not going to flow past because they're going to be going uphill. They would flow to right here, and then they would actually just continue to flow right out the front of the green and down into some drainage. So let's flip back over to here so I can show you. There's that little ridge. It's not breaking down that way. The whole middle section of the screen is essentially like a trough. That water is going to flow right here off the front of the green. The front of the green has a little bit of a slope to it. You can tell just by the coloration that this section over here is a lot darker green. And I would imagine, I haven't looked in this area very closely, but I would imagine right about here, because we don't want water flowing off the green and into a bunker, probably right in this area you'll find a drainage cap that goes underground and probably pushes out just over here. There's probably just a very quick little drain that goes to right here, that any excess water then flows into the creek and then under the road and off the property, right? So let's take a look at this green from our aerial and decide on our safe zone. Our safe zone is going to be right here, right? So pretty much anytime you want to hit your ball into the hole 4 at Glenwild, this front right section is exactly where you're going to be trying to hit your shot every single time, right? Safe zone. So do your calculations with your laser rangefinder. Typically the hole would not be located any further front of the green than that location there. If it is on the very front, you don't have to do any additions or subtractions. But for every hole location that goes backwards into the middle of the green, shoot it with your rangefinder, subtract the distance of the green so that you're trying to hit your ball right here into the safe zone. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.